So our first speaker is Candace Wasacase-Lafferty. And Candace is a member of the Kakawistau, and please tell me I did.
That's the best
Good,
I've ever
thank
heard.
you. The Kakawistau First Nation has been working with the University of Saskatchewan since 2001. Her role as the Director for Aboriginal Initiatives oversees the development and coordination of Aboriginal engagement strategies for the U of S. Through the facilitation of internal partnerships with the Saskatchewan Aboriginal communities, the goal is to increase the participation of Aboriginal people in all aspects of the university experience. Candace maintains oversight of the Aboriginal Student Centre and is also chair of the Wasacase Heritage Park Board of Directors. Please give a warm welcome for Candace.
Good morning, everyone. Absolutely honored and thrilled to be able to address all of you today. I was asked to speak at this conference a few months ago, and I thought, well, you know, pharmacists, not my usual crowd. But you know what? This is an area that I've actually gotten to know a little bit through my colleagues at the University of Saskatchewan. I've got Roy, Carol Henry, Hassan. Hassan, is he here today or is he traveling? He's always traveling, that man. Anyway, we did some work a number of years ago. My presentation is going to be a little bit about data, a little bit about storytelling, and then I've got a fantastic 2-minute video to show you at the end. But I want to just begin by letting you know I was approached by pharmacy and nutrition probably about 6 years ago. They came to us and said, we're concerned that when we graduate our students and the world that they end up being professionals in, not always inclusive of the knowledge that Aboriginal people have in Saskatchewan and primarily in Western Canada. So we started doing some digging and some thinking about the cultural competency work that was involved and what do our students need to know. That's not going to be the focus of my presentation today, but I can be around afterwards if you'd like to have a conversation about that. Today I want to give you an overview of where we're at the U of S, why this is important, a little bit about numbers, and the importance of engaging Aboriginal community into the profession of pharmacy. So here we go. So the current reality. This is common to Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and also into Alberta and somewhat into BC. Not as strong in Eastern Canada, but I still believe that this is a national issue. We know that in Saskatchewan, we make up 16% of Saskatchewan residents, and it's predicted we'll be becoming 24% in the next 20 years. Now, what's interesting about that is those numbers continue to be challenged. And I think what's been projected in this latest data set is actually a lot lower. And I think that's a minimum number. I've heard everything from we'll be 50% of Saskatchewan will be Aboriginal by the time 2045 rolls around. So when I'm an old lady laying in my bed and I'm looking out on the world, it's going to be a much different world than the world that I grew up in. I'm originally from, as Carrie had said, the Kakawistau First Nation, which is a small reserve in southern Saskatchewan. And I came to Saskatoon when my mother came to the University of Saskatchewan to take the Indian Education Teacher Program. And it's a 40-year-old program producing First Nations teachers for Canada since the early 70s. So when I came to the U of S later in life as a student, I suffered a lot of the same kinds of transition issues I think maybe even new Canadians have. That, you know, it's a daunting organization. It's a very big place. It's not very reflective of Indigenous culture and values. And over the last 20 years, I've seen the face of the University of Change. When I was a student in the 90s, I was probably part of the second big wave of Aboriginal people participating at the U of S. And now, and I'm going to show you our numbers, we make 10% of the student body at the University of Saskatchewan. We have upwards of 2,000 Aboriginal students studying in all areas of the U of S. But before we get to that, the link will work. Good. I just wanted to, and you know when you're used to using an Apple, all I want to do is touch the screen and move this around, and it's just, I have to remember, it's a cursor. All right, okay. So, right here, it's a very poor map, but the easiest province to draw in Canada, Saskatchewan, so you can imagine where the borders are. We often begin all of our work at the University of Saskatchewan recognizing that we are built upon the land of Treaty 6. Treaty 6, and we know the number of treaties across Canada. We are very conscious of the fact, and the reason why we talk about the fact that the university is situated in Treaty 6 territory, because not only does it honor the contribution of Aboriginal people to our university, but it recognizes us as all citizens of that territory, not just Aboriginal territory, but we all belong to that treaty relationship. So that's really key. So this slide will be made available to you later. There's tons of data on there, but I wanted to just show it to you because it talks a little bit about where the population looks like, where the Stats Canada people say we're going to be. Bottom line is that it's a growing population. It's the fastest growing segment of our population, which means universities are going to be acting and operating a lot differently. Okay, we're back to the slideshow. All right, so here we are. I just wanted to, I guess I can do this, sorry. I just wanted to give you a little bit of history. We've been growing numbers of Aboriginal students, but what also has been growing is our process in collecting data. So we know that back in 2001 we had, 541 students self-declare. We made a much more concerted effort. You see the numbers casually grow. We see our numbers rise and fall. We're still trying to determine what that is. We know that we have generations now of Aboriginal students who have come to our campus. I now have students whose grandmothers attended the U of S. Our very first Aboriginal graduate was back in 1915, and her name was Nan McKay. And it was just a trickle. So Aboriginal people have been a part of the U of S for many, many years. This is how it breaks down to each college. And as you see forth from the bottom, Pharmacy and Nutrition last year had identified 20 Aboriginal students. And I know that our Pharmacy and Nutrition College is very committed to growing that number. The biggest population, of course, is Arts and Science, followed by Education. The College of Education has had 40 years of Aboriginal programming and is probably our most nationally well-known program. It's also significant to say that our College of Law, that has had the Native Access Program to nursing since 1976, 77, I believe, has produced more Aboriginal lawyers than any other school in the country. 3 years ago, we graduated 21 Aboriginal lawyers, which is phenomenal. Other things I wanted to highlight, when you talk about engagement and what that looks like, it means how do Aboriginal people see themselves on our campus? How do we know that we're important? How do we know that we're reflected in the learning outcomes of our university? This seems like a small feat, but if any of you who've been involved with communications, marketing, web design, or promotion of your institutions, the homepage of your organization is the most sought after real estate that you have. And if it's on the home page, it took a lot of lobbying to get there because it says what your university is about. We fought for 3 years to have Aboriginal initiatives put in the front center main band of menu items. And so when you come to the U of S, you can click on that and you can see what we're up to, where we're going, where we've been. You can see our celebrated alumni and our student body. So we're very, very proud of that. So it also speaks to the community that comes. We're important. We're wanted here. This is a critical issue for us. Just happens to be the shot of Max Fine Day. Max Fine Day is the current Students' Union president. He is the very First Nation man to ever be elected to head the entire student union, all 20,000 students on our campus. We're extremely proud of Max. If you do come to our campus tomorrow, and I really hope that you do, you're going to see the construction site of the Gordon Oaks Red Bear Student Center. And to my colleagues from UBC, I'm wondering if you can give me a wave. I know you're up after me. The two speakers after me? I'm sorry, I don't even know your names. But I feel bad because I actually recruited your team, your head of your student center at UBC, to come run our brand new center for us this fall. And so I thought I better just declare that now. The Gordon Oaks Red Bear Center has been recognized as a community builder. It's going to be a gathering place for Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal students to gather and learn from each other. We've had generations now of separate learning systems, isolation on campus, And we are committed to the next generation of students, and this is where a lot of the work from pharmacy came. We're committed to the idea that the students that are leading this province and this country in the next 10 to 15 years will operate in a much different world than the one we are working in now. If 25 to 50% of our population is going to be of Aboriginal heritage, we are doing a huge disservice to our students by not providing them the cultural background and understanding and co-learning opportunities, as well as the partnerships and relationships that you form in university to operate in the world in the next, 10 to 15, 20 and beyond years. So the Gordon Oaks, the heart of the Gordon Oaks Red Bear Centre is about mutual learning, mutual respect. It's no longer about the download of information to Aboriginal communities, but the uptake of knowledge. So following suit, the appointment of the very first Aboriginal Chancellor to a non-First Nations university, this is Blaine Favel. And he is also, it's part of the new changing face of leadership at the University of Saskatchewan. Okay, now the entertainment begins. Part of identity, culture, engagement, working with Aboriginal communities is about what does the campus look like, feel like. We embarked on changing the reflection of the University of Saskatchewan in a set of symbols. It's not the symbols that you're going to see, it's the process that we took to get there. It speaks to partnerships, it speaks to Indigenous knowledge, the engagement of elders, and then what I'm probably most proud of was Aboriginal staff on campus and non-Aboriginal staff on campus coming together and actually appreciating each other, what they bring to the table, and coming up with this project. I wanted to come here today to talk to you a little bit about certainly where we're at, what our numbers look like, what does our collaborations that have been most effective look like. But I wanted to leave you, if you're embarking on an Aboriginal engagement strategy, if you're concerned about the number of or lack of participation in your college, in your organizations, in your internships, in your experiential learning, I encourage you to get creative. I encourage you to be open to new ways of doing things and letting go of practices that are not working. And please seek out support and build those partnerships with your on-campus community that's already there. Honor that knowledge that's there. Reach out to your surrounding area. No one does this alone, and we absolutely need each other to be successful. And as I said, as I implored upon you earlier, it's really not about doing for, but doing with. So thank you very much.
that experiential component. And so I'm curious as to suggestions of how you get introduced to a community and become part.
Some of the best projects that we've run is when the community actually brings us a request instead of us going out and pitching all the time. So it is a bit of a fine balance unless you do a certain level of awareness of what your university or your organization has to offer. Sometimes communities not really sure where to plug in. For example, I think it was mentioned in my bio, I'm chairman of Wasacase-Lafferty Heritage Park, and so if you're new to Saskatoon and you haven't been there, please come visit the park. We're quick plug, 6,000-year-old. We're heritage site. We're older than the pyramids, and it's a beautiful place to behold, but also very grounded in the medicine wheel and health-related issues and medicines and wildlife. It's a must-see. Now, as chair of the board of Wasacase, we often will take on students who are looking for hands-on experiencing on how to gather traditional medicines, what's under the ground, how did the Northern Plains survive this climate all these years, what can we learn from that? So it's about sort of matching the student's desire, the community may have a certain request or a need, and making that match happen. So I would go out with openness. One of the things about cultural competencies is that we're never going to be able to write you a manual that says, here's all the cultural foibles of every First Nation or Métis community in Saskatchewan. There's just too many, and it's all different. But what we can teach is an openness, a humbleness, and I always say to anyone developing relationships in Aboriginal communities, you write two things on your arm: openness and nimbleness. Be quick and do what you're going to say.
And who would be the contact? It's probably different in every province and the structure, or are there contacts in community?
Well, there's 72 First Nations in Saskatchewan and I think 8 Métis regions. We comprise of 117,000 people in this province. So it's there isn't sort of a one-stop shop. But I would probably start with your natural partners. Who are you already working with? So if you're other pharmacists, other nutritionists, health regions, health authorities in a province like Saskatchewan in particular, because of our high numbers, there are specialists within these organizations and is growing daily. The capacity that we have has to change to meet the demand of our clients. So we'll be people.